welcome back to 9 News. My name is Storm Sperry, and today we'll be taking a leap back in time to ask Mr. Sir John Monash a few questions about World War I. For those who don't already know Mr. Monash, he was born in Melbourne on the 27th of June 1865. He had Jewish parents and was the eldest out of 3 children. He had an interest in art, law and engineering, and also a strong interest in the military. He died on the 8th of October 1931 and was considered one of the greatest Australians to have lived. Hello Mr. John Monash, and welcome back to the 9 News Show. Today I would like to ask you a few questions regarding your military life. Good day, Storm, and thank you for having me on your show. I look forward to sharing some of my life stories with you and your viewers. Can you share with us some of your earlier life at Melbourne University and afterwards that shaped your military career before World War I? During my time at the university, I joined the North Melbourne Battery of the Metropolitan Brigade of the Garrison Artillery, who fixed guns while defending Victorian ports. I also joined the Naval Military Club and gave lectures on artillery, explosives, weapons, and mechanics. I commanded the North Melbourne Battery for 11 years, and in 1907 I was made Lieutenant Colonel of the Australian Intelligence Corps. What skills did you learn leading up to the start of the war in 1914? At the time of World War I had gained many skills such as artillery, engineering, teaching, and military mapping. I also gained much experience in administration and was involved in the general intelligence gathering. I had a good ability to command men with authority, and my gold medal essay, which I won in 1911, regarding the conduct of war maneuvers became a basic training document for the military. In what way did the war affect your personal life? In January 1916, I was retraining my troops in Egypt. As I was training them, I received news that my wife had cancer and had to undergo an operation. I was very stressed and concerned because I couldn't be with her while she was having this operation. I had to have hope and just keep thinking everything will be okay. But after a few years, cancer took over and she died in 1920. What tactics did you use to ensure that your operations in the war were successful? I had extensive and successful business experience before the war, which allowed me to focus on the planning and organizing of every battle we fought. Being a good planner, I would hold meetings with my officers before operations to generate ideas, smooth out any problems, and to ensure that everyone knew the plan well. I used many different kinds of weapons together, like tanks, artilleries, and aircrafts, to ensure that the soldiers achieved success. What ranks did you hold during the war? In 1915, before the war, I was appointed commander of the 13th Infantry Brigade in Gallipoli, and once the war broke out, I became commander of the 4th Infantry Brigade, Air Fight in Egypt. I was made general commander of the 3rd Australian Division in France in 1917, and in 1918 I was promoted to the Lieutenant General and made commander of the Australian Corps, which at the time was the biggest corps of the Western Front. What extraordinary event occurred in France on the 12th of August in 1918? During the Battle of Amiens in France, I commanded the Australian Corps, Canadian Corps, and British Corps to attack the Germans. This battle was a strong, significant victory for the British Army and caused the Germans to lose the war. Due to this great victory, I was knighted 4 days later on the battlefield by King George V as a Knight Commander of the Order of the Bath. When the war ended on 11th of November 1918, our Australian division had been on the attack for over 60 days. How many casualties were there during this short period of time? Around about 5,000 AFI soldiers died at that time. What were some of the hardship you had to deal with during this time? Prime Minister Hughes decided to send 6,000 veterans home on leave. The Allied British Army disbanded some of the battalions, and there was a mutiny by some of the 1st Battalions who suffered severe fatigue from lack of rest due to continuous operations. This meant that a lot of the soldiers were gone, and I was under pressure and stressing because of it. What was one of your most remarkable achievements at the end of the war? Once the war ended, I left the corps and became the Director General of Repatriation. I was in charge of overseeing the repatriation of 160,000 Australian soldiers from France back to Australia. I was able to do this efficiently, fairly, and as humanely as possible. After 8 months, every one of the soldiers were back in Australia. What do you consider to be your most successful battles? The Battle of Hamel on the 4th of July in 1918 was the battle which really secured my reputation. As commander of the Australian Corps, The Battle of Hamel on the 4th of July in 1918 was the battle which really secured my reputation. As commander of the Australian Corps, I planned this battle thoroughly and used different types of weaponry such as machine guns, tanks, mortars, and airplanes to help the troops advance while giving them the maximum possible protection using these resources. The other battle was when my troops and I launched an attack to the Hindenburg Line. The Hindenburg Line was the strongest German defense position which ran from Arras to Lafex in eastern France. We found German maps of the whole Hindenburg system and used this to our advantage. So on the 18th of September, we attacked the German defenses and machine gun post with tanks, artillery, and aircraft all working together. This battle lasted for 4 days, and although we suffered huge losses, we were able to break through the line and take 4,300 German prisoners. Well, viewers, that's all the time we have for today. Thank you for coming and sharing your life stories with us. Thank you for inviting me. It's been a pleasure to be your guest tonight.